in episode 223, we had Bang and Kat share, and this time we have the complete crew with David from Atlanta. And so on this episode, we speak to all three of them and a little bit of focus on their Instagram page, Spiritus Sanctus Igneus, and their focus on the TLM. So stay tuned. Ready? Here we go.
Different points of view and highs and lows. A new perspective everywhere you go. Open up your mind, drown out the noise, and see if this connected. And see if this connected.
Welcome back, fam, and what's up again? Welcome to another episode of Disconnected. Tonight, as I said, we're going to continue on the second part 2 of having this moment with Spiritus Sanctus Igneus. And we have the complete crew here with us. We have Super Cat over there, Cat, and we have Thang, and we have this new person here, David, who is from not California. He's actually from the other end of the world, which is Atlanta, Georgia, which is totally, totally different from the rest of us over here in California because we have the best weather. Just saying. So we want to welcome you guys back on the show. And again, for those who didn't see part 1, we want you guys to reintroduce yourselves and tell us who you are and something about you. Go ahead, Kat, you first.
Hi, I'm Kat. I like to consider myself a Catholic revert. I was baptized a Catholic, but there was my mom and schedules and her work, it was hard to go to Mass. And so we didn't start going to Mass until I was in sixth grade. And that's when I got involved, signed up with Life Teen, and so Life Teen is what sparked my Catholic faith and knowing about the faith and knowing about the saints. And so they're a good part of my formation in my Catholic faith.
Wow. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I was just triggered a little bit about what someone said about my Life Teen program. But anyways, go ahead. Thang, what about you? Feel like a youth group. We're going to popcorn that over to Thang.
Hi, my name is Thang. So I'm also a Catholic reverts, or I think other people call it a cradle Catholic. And I would say I grew up Catholic, First Communion, baptism, confirmation. I left my faith, or even did the minimal amount of it in college, and then I would say what got me into the faith back would be a flyer. A bulletin in I would say an advertising in the bulletin, and it was called Singles for Christ, Couples for Christ, and I decided to join. In the end, I was dedicated with CFC and SFC back to back, and it was great, like finding community. That's how got started. Having meetings with my brothers, my I would say household head group, and with that, going to different talks, conferences, and sometimes doing it on my own. And I didn't really care. And my goal was to be keep growing. What one time I asked my friend, because I joined late in terms of like young adults age-wise, if they would let me go. And he said no, because you're like a sponge who's just keep on getting and getting and getting. And I'm like, okay, sure. And I never stopped.
Well, good. Good. Then you're lagging a little bit, so just saying to your brother, you're lagging a little bit. But new person, David, entering into the
Yes.
conversation. Tell us about yourself.
My name is David, and yeah, I'm an East Coast guy, from the South, in Atlanta, and I'm actually a convert from Protestantism, and so throughout my whole life, been a Protestant, and then met a girl who was Catholic, and I was like, hey, I like her. So I'm gonna try to impress her. By impressing her, I thought I studied the faith, get to know what the faith was, and or Catholicism was. And more I studied, more I became in love with the faith. Um, and so I think maybe six years ago, I converted. I got my confirmation and finally came home to the Catholic faith.
That's super cool. I didn't know that. But what faith background in the Protestant faith? What was your faith background? I mean, was it
Man, everything. I was hopping churches left and right every Sunday.
because
I
there's
had
a
no,
lot?
there was a lot. Yeah, there's a lot to choose from. It's a buffet.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
was it say Baptist,
yeah,
Methodist, Pentecostal, or was it more
yeah.
evangelical Bible church kind of? You know, the ones that are
Um,
called sandals, kind of called some really cool name.
yeah. I know when I was young, when I was a kid, like about maybe elementary school, I know I was a Methodist. Just looking at the little logo, right?
Hmm.
And I remember that. And then as I got older, I know my parents took us to like, Presbyterian church, Baptist church. And then I think the last church I went to was like a non-denominational church.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I tasted everything.
That's that's good. You know, you get fat if you eat too much of that.
I know.
I'm just kidding. Just teasing everyone. Not serious. So we're going to enter into conversation just on this episode because I just really want to hear from you guys. I just want to enter into conversation with you all about the Catholic faith and what draws you to it and what kind of things that like what really I think what a lot of our listeners is like what makes these people like really fall in love with the Catholic faith and why are they doing and what are they doing? I know you guys are part of this group, you know, and it's important for you to serve in that group. But what drew you to that? And what do you want to say to people out there who are kind of what we say is kind of like lukewarm Catholic or cafeteria Catholics? Let's enter into that conversation. Um, I thought I was gonna say something to David, but I forgot it. It's all gone. The Holy
You
Spirit
can
took
say
it.
it
Yeah,
later.
it'll come back later. So let's enter into that conversation. What drew you to the faith? Aside from, you know, David, you know, it was a girl. Girl
Yeah.
like got invited to the church. And I just want to say, you said something that kind of um, got into my thought that you like this girl and then she was Catholic. I mean, was she an active Catholic or was she just
Yeah.
she was
She was
Catholic?
she was Catholic. She went to mass every day. And she would invite me to go to mass with her. And, at first I was like, what is this thing? I thought it was, as a Protestant, all I knew was like, we're gonna have lecture and then we're gonna have music and then that's it. And then you know how the second part of the mass is there is no lecture, there is no, like I mean, there might be music, but it's not much Bible reading. Um, lecture wise, right?
Yeah.
You know? And so as a Protestant, I'm used to hearing, a pastor, tell us what this passage means. And so I was like, wow, what is the second part of this mass? I'm not used to this, like, what are they doing? I remember like the first time too, she took me to a Eucharist Congress event, and then I saw all these like the Eucharist was going by in a monstrance, right? And all these people were kneeling down, and I was like, "What's going on? Who's who's here?" Like, and she was like trying to tell me like that's Jesus, and I was like, "What?" Yeah.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to understand it fully, but I totally understand when, new converts come in and they have, an obstacle with the Eucharist because I had the same thing too.
It's hard to believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence
Yeah.
the term, Lord, I believe, help my
Hmm.
unbelief. Because it's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully accept when friends of mine who are non-Catholics say, "Do you really believe?" I said, "Yes." But it's hard.
It is
It's not
hard.
easy. It's
Not easy.
hard and yet it is easy.
Yeah.
It's hard and yet it's easy because it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always like to say this. It's like when you have your kids and your parents, your dad tells you that this is blue. Like you don't know what blue is, but you believe them
Yeah.
because you have trust. And so that's the beauty of faith is and when you said it's true. When I was younger, used to go with people, with other ladies, because you want to go to their church because they invite you. And yes, the music is beautiful, and the sermon is like an hour long on a
Yeah.
specific passage, and then that was it. And then comes
That was
out the
it.
music, that was it.
That was
And
it. Yeah.
and I was like, is something else? Is there something else? Is something's missing? And so in the Masters, there are two parts.
Hmm.
There are four parts, but there are two main parts, which is the liturgy of the word. When you don't just
Yeah.
get one passage, but you get four
Yeah.
four of them, and then you have the homily or the sermon, and then you have the most the source and summit of our faith, which is the Eucharistic liturgy.
Yeah.
And is to me that is there's nothing better than the liturgy, which is the definition of liturgy is the work of the people, which
Yeah.
is why we're there. We're not there to serve, to be served, but we're there to actually participate in the work of the people, which is the liturgy. So I'm glad you crossed the Tiber. I'm I'm glad you're on this side of the Tiber and welcome. You know, it's a messy, messy boat, but Jesus has the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. So what else? What else attracted you? You said, and you dated a girl, but
Oh yeah.
you also said that you decided to investigate.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So
most people would just say, "All right, well, you're Catholic. Okay, we're dating." Did she require you to investigate the church?
no, I did it on my own. I thought because like I wanted to impress her, right? So I was like, let me get some knowledge, and uh, I asked her one question, and then I just went with it, and so I just took off. And the question was, is the church, is the Catholic Church that Christ established? And she's like, yes. So I was like, let me find out for myself. And so I just looked at history. History, I love history. And so I was like, let me look at, if it's true, let me look at the historical facts of the Catholic Church. When did it started? Who are these members of the church? And so I just studied the historical facts of the Catholic Church, and I was like, I'm sold. I'm sold. Yeah.
And then the hard process of entering into the church.
Yeah, but it was all right. Yeah.
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 Did you
Yeah.
have to get rebaptized?
No, no, I did not. I did not. So I was like, that's one thing. But yeah, I mean, it was good though. I loved our CIA. My at my parish they have a good program there. And yeah, there's some obstacles like Mary and the Eucharist, but it's crazy because like even though these were the hardest obstacle in my life, now they're like the most treasured devotion I have in my Catholic life right now. So yeah.
Super cool. What do you think, Kat?
Oh, that's really cool. with me, like I feel like my faith part started with an invite because of my Protestant friend back in middle school. She invited me, and their church was at a high school. And so, you start off with coffee and donuts, and then we get into praise and worship, and then the parents would break off to their groups, and the kids will break off to their groups, and it will just be Bible study, pretty much. So, praise and worship and Bible study was the service. And so, and I accepted that invite because I felt like I feel like there's more. There's more to just Saturday and Sunday. Like, I feel like I want to know of this higher power, as someone that didn't know anything about religion at that point. And so I accepted, and I went a couple times to her services. And from there, I started asking my parents, like, oh, well, why don't we like attend like our church, Um, and that helped my sister because my sister was in high school, and so she was like looking up what parishes nearby that are Catholic that fit my mom's schedule. And so with that, we started going to mass when I was in sixth grade, and yeah, and then got into life team, and from there it just took off. Going to mass every Sunday, then starting to wanting to do volunteer work with religious. And so then I met the Sacred Heart Sisters back in 2012, and then started doing services with them, attending their camps, just getting more deep in my faith. And then after high school, then I claimed it as my own, that like this is not my parents' job, like this is my job to be involved in my faith. This is ultimately my choice and not my parents' choice. And so, I started looking for other young adult groups around the area. And eventually, I found those groups through like organizations that we have, that we make on Instagram with promoting other young adult groups. So I'm in this position helping others like myself before that was in searching for a group community of like-minded Catholics.
So, Kat, you actually were interested in entering into religious life.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny because I remember going back to Edge, there was a topic that the leaders asked. They were like, "Oh, like what do you think your vocation is? What do you think you're called to?" And as a little sixth grader, everyone in the room is like, "Oh, marriage life, marriage life." And I don't know if it's just because I wanted to be edgy, I wanted to choose something different. But I was the only one that said that I'm considering either devout single life or religious life. And with that, I just continued on with my faith and getting involved with the sisters and seeing how the sisters live their life. And I was really drawn into that. And so there was a moment after high school that I was discerning. I was discerning for about 2 to 4 years. I was meeting different orders, but ultimately I went back to the Sacred Heart Sisters, the sisters that I grew my faith in and, really knew their community and like the people themselves. But yeah, then eventually I came out of that vocation and found my fiance, and we're engaged, getting married soon. So
Yeah, discernment is wonderful. And again, shout out to the Sacred Heart Sisters. Love taking retreats over there in Big Bear. They have a beautiful retreat site, and also they have a place over there in Santa Ana. But a beautiful story of the Sacred Heart Sisters. I can't speak enough about them. And you would have been a wonderful, wonderful sister of the Sacred Heart. But, you know, God calls you somewhere else and to a different vocation. That's beautiful and wonderful. Uh, so as we talk here, Thang, did you want to share? Or are you still lagging?
I believe I'm still lagging.
Okay, just chime in when you want to. Um, as we go in, this is not a rant or reflection episode because those are usually just me ranting, but you know, the church is as you both said, all three of you have said in the past, it's like you long for community. You long for community. And I think what the biggest difference I see in a lot of our brothers and sisters, or separate brothers and sisters, is they have such vibrant community. It's like I see like my friends who go to a church, an evangelical church, and it's a vibrant community, and they're so welcoming. Donuts before church. I mean, it's like that's uncalled for in the Catholic Church because we have to fast before. It's donuts and coffee after. It's something to look forward to. Something with Jesus already in you. But every time it's like when you go to another church and they offer you, it's like, would you like a coffee? And it's almost triggering if you've ever been. It's like they offer you a coffee, and I'm like, um, I've actually been fasting. Don't we fast before we go? And it's not. You see people walking in with a cup of coffee, and I tell you, our local churches, Protestant churches here, their coffee is it's it's good. And I'm just saying, it's not our typical Catholic coffee that's just boiled in coffee grains and you know because it's just coffee. I mean, there's no comparison. If you've already got Jesus, who cares about the coffee? It's like just add some brown sugar in there. But
Yeah.
anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. But as I was going there, I was saying is that we're always seeking community. Kat, you're seeking community. David, Thang, you're seeking community. And these Protestant churches, they have vibrant communities, but it's that community right there. But when
Yeah.
you look at the Catholic Church, we have this community and this parish, but we have this bigger community, this diocesan community, and then we have this huge community, and this community is universal. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's not only in this town. You literally go anywhere in the world and you'll find your community. I'm not saying it's great in every community, but definitely, as I always advise people who are like leaving the church because they don't like that community, I always tell them, go find another one. Go find another one. Because there's another parish there that's probably is more to your liking, which uh, allows me to segue into this aspect is what type of community do you guys like? Do you guys like the community with like the real let's say, how do I say this nicely? The happy, dancing in the aisles kind of community, or do you like more of the community that's more strict and rigid and incensers and um, beautiful chasubles? So which, or are you somewhere in the middle? You know, but let's have conversations on that. I didn't prompt you on this one, huh? Let's throw that out there. Let's put you guys on the spot. So, which one? How about you, David? Which one do you prefer?
Oh,
Do you prefer a community, a Catholic parish that's more like the the church that you left, or is it totally a 180 turn for you?
yeah, definitely 180 because, obviously, I told you like come from a Protestant background and there's a reason why I left the Protestant, church. Like if I wanted something that was soapy, easy, I didn't have to go to confession to a priest. I can just confess in my room to God, right? That's what
Mhm.
they say. I don't have to fast. I, Lent's coming up. As a Protestant, I didn't even have to do Lent, right? And so if I wanted that, then I would have stayed. But I wanted to become Catholic, so I like community that's like really Catholic, 100% hardcore. You know, I like the smells and bells. So yeah, I'm a very traditional minded Catholic. I go to the TLM and I also serve at the TLM. So I love it. I love the chasuble, like you said. I love the chants, the Latin. Um, and like you're talking about community. Like I just got, a couple months ago, I went to Rome and I went to the TLM over there, and I had no problem, because I knew what was going on, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of community I like.
Yeah. Is that something that's widely accepted in your diocese, or do you have to seek it out?
Oh no, I go to actually a diocesan parish, and we have it over there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is it
we're, go
so?
ahead.
Are parishes that do the extraordinary form, uh are they far and few in between, or is it easily accessible in your
We
diocese?
we do have FSSP, and then we also have a SSPX, and then we also have my parish, which is a diocesan parish. So we do the Novus Ordo on, and then we do the TLM on Sundays. And yeah, and then also even the Novus Ordo, a lot of people who don't like the TLM like the Novus Ordo because it's very traditional, like it's ad orientem. The chants are in Latin.
Hmm.
We have an altar rail, but obviously, if you want to receive it on the hand, they'll allow it. But ever since we had the altar rail, everyone just automatically goes on their knee, like, because you're gonna look
Hmm.
kind of, like stupid if you're just standing up when there's an altar rail, right? And so, yeah, so everyone goes on their knees and receives. And so, yeah, I like that kind of community. And you can see, because like my parish, we just had a renovation like 2 years ago. And that's when we got the altar rail and,
Oh, I
all
see.
that stuff. And we used to be the typical parish where there was no altar rail. Chairs were going, were around the altar, right? And so we were that type of parish earlier, but as as our priest started to learn about the tradition of the faith, he implemented it one by one, little by little, and now most of our parishioners are very traditional minded in the Nova Soto parish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, th yeah, I'll maybe ask that question later. Because it's interesting. It's interesting that because it's interesting how the flow of more and more young people are being attracted to the extraordinary form of the Mass, uh,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, so, do you guys think that the way of mass in the future that's the way that it's going to be, or do you think it's just going to remain the same typical Novus Ordo mass, or do you think it's going to be something that is going to be um, more of what Vatican II envisioned, uh,
It could,
of a combination of a conglomeration of what it was supposed to be.
I don't know. I mean, it might be the latter that you said. It might be, because, a lot of the, a lot of the priests are, especially the young priests, are very traditional minded, right? And so they uh they want that to happen. So I think as they grow older, and pretty soon these young priests are going to become bishops and cardinals and then popes one day. And so it might be a total change. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it's I look into that and I read about that, and the the whole story of coming out of the Novus Ordo and the coming back of the extraordinary form is intriguing. It's
Yeah.
intriguing because there's a huge there's a huge conversation regarding the aspect of the TLM and the Novus Ordo and what was envisioned and what came out and what it's going to be. And I love that aspect of Vatican II came out. It's huge. I know there's people who don't like it, and but it was huge. I mean, the last time that that happened was in 1849, where they had Vatican I,
That's the one. Yep.
and then they didn't finish because of the big war, and
Hmm.
so they had to finish it in Vatican II because nothing was really resolved. Uh, but it gave us so much stuff, and I think um, we when we look at Vatican II, we focus so much on this aspect of that, which is Sacrosanctum Concilium, and we forget all the other things that was changed. You know, it wasn't just the vernacular, because obviously even in TLM, the homily is
Yeah.
is in vernacular, which I want to share was triggering for me when I went and did the Camino and went to Mass at in Spain. And the daily masses over there, there is no homily.
Oh yeah, because the homily is not part of the mass.
It's not part of the
Yeah.
mass. So there's
Yeah.
never a homily. And so it was like, man. And there was a time, you know, after 30 days, I'm like, I am hungering for a homily. Can someone please have a homily? Can someone please share with me? But that was funny. It was like, do they not do homilies over here? And one of the priests says, no, daily mass.
Daily. No.
The homily is optional.
Hmm.
It says it's only on the high mass on Sunday
Hmm.
that that a homily is part of the mass. But very interesting, very interesting. So that's all I have. Just on that note, the you know there's so many changes. I mean, we can talk ad nauseum in comparison of of the mass and how it came about and uh, how it, how the issue and the crisis that came from that was, I believe, it was in the implementation of
Mm.
that whole thing. Because what I do really love, I want to share this, what I really do love about the coming out of Sacrosanctum Concilium and the reform that came out was the fact that we actually get more readings. You know, the lectionary change. The lectionary from the old was a 1 year cycle, and now we have a 3 year cycle and a 2 year cycle for the daily mass. And so uh, I think that was the biggest reform change that I love the most, is that you actually have more of the Bible that's being read at the mass, whereas before we simply had that one straight through every year.
Yeah, but the purpose of that 1 year cycle was that you're, it's more like quality than quantity,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
that's why it was a 1 year cycle for the old masses, because like they're talking about more. Because I noticed even in the 3 year cycle, they won't talk about certain stuff like like going to hell or stuff like that. And so that's the I think the beauty of the 1 year cycle is that there's better quality than quantity. And so I noticed that too, and a lot of his scholars have recited that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 year
And
cycle's not
yeah.
bad, but it's just the fact that you're gonna have to buy 3 books.
Well, or you could just have by one book, which is that thick,
Oh yeah,
which is that thick.
yeah.
It's and that's what I bring to mass on a daily and on a Sunday mass, because it has every single reading, and I think that's also beautiful. And with that, I think a lot of time it's in the implementation
Yep.
of that aspect, because I've had priests that did speak strongly on that, especially at San Juan Capistrano. You know, those Franciscans, I'm telling you, they can preach. But on that note, oh, what other things do you guys want to talk about since while we're here? You know, I know that one of the things that you guys wanted to see was, you know, with the Pope being sick the way that he is, he's 88 with a lung and a half. So
Yeah.
I can honestly say, and this is not being negative, that he does not have much long to live. I mean, 88 years old and sick. We obviously need to realize that you know his time is more coming to an end than any uh any other time in his pontificate. So with that, do you guys have any ideas like that percolated since our last conversation? Who do you think would become the next pope? And what do you think that papacy, the papacy of that whole aspect is the outcome of that? What do you think will be coming from that? Who do you guys think is in the front running? Who would you like? You know?
I would like Cardinal Burke, but I feel like he might be a little too conservative leaning, and I feel like, you know, the Holy See, but also, whatever the Holy Spirit wants. But I feel like a lot of people might want someone more in between progressive and conservative. Um, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I would prefer Cardinal Burke.
Yeah, me
Hey,
too. I think oh, go ahead, thing.
Would Cardinal Burke, if he becomes Pope, it seems, yes, he's conservative. Would he, let's just say like how Father Altman, how he spoke out and he got canceled in a way, or Bishop Strickland, how he spoke out and he got canceled. If Cardinal Burke becomes Pope and he speaks, his mind, would he be canceled? I mean, that's the question for me. I mean,
You can't cancel a
that's,
pope.
I know you can't cancel the Pope. I know, but you know how it is. Like, there's a pattern.
are we talking conspiracy theories?
Yeah, it sounds like a
Uh,
conspiracy theory.
are we talking
Hey,
conspiracy theory thing?
All
sure, why not?
conspiracy theories are true in 6 months from now.
Yeah. Yeah, the concerns that some people say is that with with the popes and the way that they are, and I know that John the 23rd, when he entered into the whole Vatican II, uh, the issue that he was having, and from what I'm reading, is that the papacy was more being run by the Curia rather than the Pope, and so he wanted to take that over. So I think conspiracy-wise, thoughts are uh, not that would that person be canceled, but would that Pope actually be allowed to govern the papacy the way, or is that going to be just controlled by the Roman Curia? Which, by the
Mm.
way, every single diocese has its own curia, so it's not always just saying, "Oh, it's Bishop Gomez or it's Bishop this and Bishop that makes all of the decisions. He has his own government. He has his own people in that curia. So that would be my, if I was talking conspiracy theories, is who's really, who's really pulling the strings. But I know as a good Catholic that doesn't happen because who pulls the strings? Well, it's the Holy Spirit that guides. So
Yeah. I think yeah, I would say Burke too. That would be nice. But I think he is a little bit too old, you know. But then at the same time, um I don't think they want the next papacy to be long, because Francis is kind of long. He's been there for like, what is it, 12? Almost 12 years? I think.
2013, was it 2014?
I think
2013.
13. So yeah, about 12, 13 years right now. Yeah, so 12, yeah, 2025.
How
So,
how long was Benedict?
oh,
uh, like
not even
eight.
10 years. Yeah, not even 10 years. Yeah. I know JP2 was long.
Yeah, I think his was like almost 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, started in the 80s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
His
I
was
think that, no, go ahead.
no, I think he is one of the longest reigning
Yeah.
popes was JP2, uh, which he had a lot of impact. I mean, we're still studying and reading a lot of his things, theology of the body. It's just really important. His his section on the creation of an encyclical by Paul VI, Humanae Vitae, which is huge now, which was overlooked for many, many years, for decades, by the church. So things come around. Holy Spirit says, "You're not ready for this. I'm going to stick it in there anyways." And then seminarians and priests start looking into it and say, "This is good stuff." Plus, it's really short. You know, gotta love those short encyclicals. So, no one said anything about Cardinal Sarah. You know, I know he's
I th
retired.
Yeah, I was about to say Cardinal Sarah too. Yeah, that would be nice too. Cardinal Sarah, but he is also, I guess, in the eyes of like, in the eyes of some church members, he is considered the same status as Cardinal Burke, conservative.
I always had
So
also this conspiracy theory that they never really select a pope who's non-European.
I noticed that.
It's not, unless they're Italian or European, you have no
Yeah,
luck. So it would be interesting though if they did really, really. It'd be very interesting if they pick someone who is one, not Italian and
or
non-European.
yeah,
I think that's
uh,
when things will change. Is you know
yeah,
that's my take on it. If anything, it will definitely be an Italian pope again. I mean, well,
probably.
it's still an Italian pope now. I mean, Pope
Yeah,
Francis is Italian.
yeah, yeah.
So who's in the listing of candidates is European?
I think majority of them. See,
Majority, yeah.
when I read out listings there, it's basically what people who are, taking bets on popes. It's
Hmm.
kind of like the Vegas bets, right?
There is
Who's gonna
actually
be, yeah. So it's
there
kind of
is
like,
actually a website.
yeah. So who's taking bets on that? And it's interesting but that's it. So I always say you never know, and the Holy Spirit is the one who guides. That's why they're secret ballots.
Hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see that the fruition of again election of a new pope uh, in our lifetime, in my lifetime. It would be interesting to see the direction of where that pope's focus will be. So yeah, I'm excited, saddened because you're never supposed you shouldn't be so excited. It's like, oh yeah, it's like, he's gonna
No,
die. But
yeah,
um, prayers for Pope Francis and prayers for the church and prayers for whoever is gonna lead us into this. And so that's why I'm excited, is for
yeah.
the whole process of an election. And but yeah, so there's gonna be that. This is what Kat's gonna say. It's like this is that awkward moment. Okay, what do we talk about now? Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. What are we gonna talk about now?
Can we talk about that we are seeing a revival of young adults interested in the TLM?
Yeah,
Um, and I feel like I see that a lot. You know, my fiance used to live in Florida, and when I would visit and we would go to mass, there was a lot of young families, young couples, like people, you know, in their young to mid 20s with already one kid or two kids. And it's just like it seemed like the TLM creates that environment for young families. Because I haven't seen that when I've attended NO. I didn't see a lot of young families. You know, you would get your typical like families that are their parents are in their 30s, but like families are in like their young 20s with the little kids. You know, still in that young adult life, but bringing their kids along with them to these young adult spaces, like in talking, like getting them to know those their faith at a young age, with a community of other young parents. And so it's just this massive group of like young kids in the faith. And I think it's beautiful. And I've only seen that in the TLM.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that that is coming about?
I think people are starting to um, dive in deeper into their faith and not just, okay, like this is what our family, this is what we grew up with. We grew up with the drums, the guitars, and everything. You know, we people are looking for reverence. They're looking
Mhm.
for just God, Jesus, God in the Eucharist, and that being enough. We don't need all these loud noises. We just need Him and silence. And I think that is what's drawing people to the TLM is
Yeah.
that beauty and reverence that's found
I
there.
think I think we live in also in a I think we live in an age of, like we want authentic stuff, right? Like we want organic food, right? Non-GMO and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And so we want organic food. We want, you know, um, clean energy, all that organic stuff. And I think that's also the same thing when it comes to our faith, and, by studying the faith, you notice like, for centuries, Catholics worship this way. And, you know, so they start, seeing it and they see a mystery too. Also, I think in the TLM, there's a great mystery, like obviously because you don't see everything, you don't hear everything, and it's just like a bride with her, with her bridal veil on, and she got in front of her face, and when she's going through that aisle to the altar, everybody in the congregation is trying to take a peek inside her, to see what she looks like. That's the same mystery that we have in the TLM, and so I think when people see that mystery, they are attracted to it. They are more drawn to it. And um, I think, and then, just like any mystery, we want more of it. So that's why they come back week after week. And I think the kids, even the young family who have kids, the kids also see that too. I noticed from my own experience,
Mhm.
because like I said, I served the TLM, so I also help train the younger kids, and I see 5 year olds, six or not 5 year olds, like 7, 8, 9 year olds coming to these altar server training, and I'm like, seriously, you're like, you just received your communion last year, and he's like, yeah, he's excited, encouraged to learn, and I think my youngest server, he's like maybe 7, yeah, 7 or 8 years old, and he just served his like, helped serve his first mass a couple of weeks ago, and so it's like you see that, and you're like, okay, the TLM is not going anywhere. You got the next not this generation. We already got the next generation coming in because
Mhm.
they're all they're used to the TLM, and so yeah,
Oh, it's my turn.
or or
uh,
Peng,
or
whoever.
Fang. It's beautiful to see that. It's beautiful that families are again engaged in their faith, an active participation in their faith and teaching and living out the faith and making it part of their lifestyle and not their culture.
Hmm.
Because I think that's where a lot of times when you see in the Novus Ordo, when you see the regular church, because the masses are there and everybody is there who are culturally Catholic, uh, and that's a lot of times what I see. You know, when you go to the Novus Ordo, and I always sit in the back because I like to watch people. Um, but you see the families who are engaged and the ones who are actively participating because they're
Yeah,
living it out in their life, but they're scattered over a sea of people who don't get it or who are the what we call the frozen chosen. Um, but when you do go to a TLM mass, everyone there is involved and they understand it, and that's why they're there. So it's seeing a little bit of a difference because you have people who are there who have purpose. These are all followers, whereas in a Novus Ordo you have followers and fans. See that
yeah,
analogy I'm trying to make? But if
Mhm.
you, I think, as you said, you have a parish that has a Novus Ordo, and it's also reverent, right?
yeah.
It's also reverent. It's just in a novus ordo. So I love that fact that you have a parish that provides both, and it's neither either or, but both and. But
Yeah.
I think I personally believe that one day, because um, councils, um, you will always usually take over 100 years for it to settle and figure out, because everybody has to be basically dead who was there, and then uh, there's no more there's no more animosity towards either or. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like in the family, when the
Yeah.
parents are gone, the grandparents are gone, then the children will fix it. Now we'll fix it because we're not trying to insult or hurt anyone's feelings anymore.
Yeah.
I truly believe that the reform the reform of the reform will come out, and we will have again um, we will again have the mass that isn't is neither it's neither nor, but something that was intended to be. And so that's where my point of view on that is. I think there is going to be a period of time of that transition where, yeah, this makes sense. This is what it's supposed to be, because there is, in a living church there is growth. And so
Oh yeah.
and so there is that point where I have to look at that and says, well, where's the Holy Spirit leading us, and where's the Holy Spirit taking us? And with anything that comes with change, I'm pretty sure that when Trent was when Trent happened at first, it took over 100 years for them to figure that out. So we're only at 60. So so uh, you know it's in God's time, and not in our time. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. It's like, we believe that this is the one true faith. It's going to be beautiful. That's how I look at things. Because otherwise, I'm going to need some medication.
So, Kat, you know how you said that in Florida you see a lot of families that are in their 20s and their mindset is just families. Would you say these communities are very, excuse me, welcoming, enthusiastic in with new parishioners or people coming into their Catholic faith? Because I've seen, I would say, I've experienced one community where it's not like, in my mindset is your purpose of going to mass is you're focusing on God. Just that's your purpose. You're there, you attend mass and you go home. But in terms of community, um, this particular community is not, I would say they stick with families. Like, it's like it's hard to explain. Because when you're looking for community, you're looking for the welcoming, the donuts, the interaction. But if you're approaching it and you don't see any interaction, you feel like I don't know, should I be here in a way? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think so. Um,
It's like, go ahead.
no, I think it's just being, if you're looking for a community, I feel like you have to step out of yourselves. Like if you feel like, oh, I don't know if I'm welcome here or not, like make that approach of like, hi, my name is so and so, and like, try to get involved in those communities. What I was saying about Florida, not that it wasn't church oriented, it's very, it was church oriented, but it was that comparison to young adults that I have seen in California versus young adults that I've seen in Florida and Texas. A lot of the young adults here in California, it's always just single people in this age group. Whereas when I've been to Florida and Texas, it's people at that same age group, but already in a family life. They're already they're already in their jobs, their careers. Um, they're able to provide for their wives and their kids. And so I feel like, I don't know, the waters are different out in the East Coast or something. um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I feel like there's a lot more young family encouragement in those um, sectors comparison to here in California where we're still trying to discover, I guess, or like we're still searching for our vocation a little bit longer than I've seen compared to those people on the East Coast. Don't know
Oh,
what
I
it is.
get it. Yeah, I get it. I was like, which I was wondering what direction that was coming from. But but yeah, now I understand. It's it's people in the West Coast where we're trying too long to either one, find our profession or find our career, and we're foregoing marriage and children later and later. And hence in other parts of the countries, uh they're not waiting so long. They're wanting to get married, create a family, and live out their life. So maybe that's California, maybe that's a SoCal thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a more of a city thing.
A
Um,
West Coast thing.
or maybe that's a West Coast thing. Uh, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what New York is like either. So
Sure.
so maybe that's true. Maybe the southern part of the country, you have that southern charm, and they totally more family oriented. Don't know. Don't know what Ohio is like either. Maybe they're more like Florida. So, but it's interesting though. But I do see that. I do see that trend that Catholics today, young Catholics, are choosing to marry sooner than their Gen X and even early millennial generation that was very much focused on career and getting not not going into marriage until they're financially secure. So
Mhm.
which was me, you know, because my mom pushed me. It's like, yeah, don't even think about getting married until you get a house. And I'm like,
Whoa.
am I ever gonna get married? So so that maybe that's a trend. Uh, but it is very interesting. I'm seeing a lot more and more uh, young people getting married earlier on than later. And the ones who have waited longer tend to find a more difficult time finding a mate uh, in the future, which is very interesting. Very interesting. There should be studies about that.
There probably is going to be studies about that.
They
See
probably will.
what's wrong
Yeah.
like with this generation. Yeah.
Yeah, Thang, you're going to have to make a study. You're going to have to do that study, sponsored by Spiritus Sanctus Igneus. Studies on there actually probably is already, and
Probably.
you
Yeah.
just have to look at it. It's probably jaded on one way or the other. So, anyways, so
Mhm.
what next? What do you guys want to talk about? Your topics. Yeah. Coffee or tea?
Same. Pineapple on pizza? Yay or nay?
Yay.
I love
Oh,
pineapples.
Yes,
What?
yay.
oh, you're
Pineapple
breaking
and
my
No,
pizza.
heart.
David,
You're
David, you
breaking
need to
my heart.
explain. Explain.
You know why? You know why it hurts him so? Because it's a West Coast thing.
Yeah, that probably is. You guys
Is
Pineapples
love
it?
and pizza
pineapple.
is a West Coast thing. I have never met anyone from the East Coast past the Mississippi who thinks pineapples on pizza is a good thing.
But have you
Yeah.
tried it before? That's the
Yes, I
question.
tried it. Yes, I tried it.
The
With
I don't.
sweet
Canadian
and
bacon,
savory?
Yeah, it was Canadian bacon, Hawaiian, pineapple, everything, and I just don't like my fruits to be warm. I want my fruits cold.
Then wait until the pizza gets cold.
yeah. But wait. Tomatoes are fruit.
Is it? Oh, well, I don't know. I consider it a vegetable.
It's a fruit and a vegetable.
Yeah, it is a fruit vegetable. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's a fruit and a vegetable. But yeah,
but
that's
it's
that's
it's
that's
tomato
interesting.
sauce, not
Yeah.
actual tomatoes.
I always have this theory that pizza is a Catholic thing. It's pizza is very Catholic.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's round. Pizza is round. It is the shape of the Eucharist. It's cut into triangles, cut into the Holy Trinity. There's the blood of Christ symbolized by the sauce. There's the cheese that connects everything together. And then the universality of it all is that you can put anything on top of that pizza and you could serve it. It is delicious either way, except for David because he doesn't like pineapples, you know. So I was
But
saying that's
speaking about pizza, Pi Day's coming up, 3/14. So
Oh yes,
14.
yes, 314.
So this is gonna come out on actually on Fat Tuesday. So let's talk about that. So
Ooh.
Fat Tuesday and then Easter, because how are you guys gonna celebrate Easter when there's no eggs? Uh, there's a shortage of eggs. But
Oh yeah.
Fat Tuesday, Carnival if you're in Louisiana, uh, Fat Tuesday is the day right before Ash Wednesday. So as we go to closing this episode, I want to ask you guys, what are you doing for Lent? Are you giving up something or are you taking up something?
Who's going first?
I'm going first. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm excited um, for this time of Lent, especially since this is my last singlehood Lent before getting married. Like at the end of, being in the desert, I'm gonna be married. And so I'm excited. It's a good time to fast. I already have been thinking about different things to do. Mainly for Fridays, I'm gonna try to go to mass every Fridays, as well as um, the Stations of the Cross, and then doing the fish fry afterwards. And so for sure, I want to do that on all my Fridays of Lent. And then I'm still trying to figure out like what spiritual readings should I do. So I'm not there yet, but I know my Fridays are all dedicated to church.
So spiritual reading for you,
Mhm.
Mass on Fridays, fasting from fasting from
Fasting, we're still working on
yeah.
it.
How
To
about you?
be
How about you,
D.
Fang?
So my goal is to attend daily mass, and a it's just parish that I do not want to go to, and it's closest to me, and it has the earliest mass, which is at 5:30.
Wow.
And yes, so after work, I would have to go home, try to do some reading or workout, and then go to mass, and then come back home and eat. I have a schedule that I have to sleep around between 10 and 11. That means I cannot be outside after 11. Uh, People tell me that I need to sleep more, so I will try to do that. Um, with the daily mass, I'm in a group chat that does daily mass, and we got the Lamb Supper, and I'm gonna try to do the monastic fast, meaning only one big meal. I have never done it, so this week I'm trying to eat all my snacks before that, um, not including like fruits because just in case you get a cold and you need your vitamin C, your pure 100% vitamin C. Um, so no snacks. I'm gonna try to do fish on Wednesdays because I'm used to the Fridays. Even without Lent, I eat um, fish or shrimp on Fridays. Regarding reading, including reading, I'm in a book study called Love and Responsibility by JP2. Um, and The Lamb Supper will be my second book. And I think that's it because if I do too much, I won't do anything at all. Um, Basically just you know how when you talked about the TLM and how I don't know what you said, it was those words that you said, it was Arnell, you said something about the TLM. They're very there's two words that you used. I forgot what they are. What I'm saying is that I'm trying to be intentional of my purpose of doing these things and using it as prayers. Like Father Allen, when I had the Lent pre-Lent retreat, he said use these as prayers. And since 40 Days for Life is coming up too, I'm going to Father Allen's Lent retreat for the 40 Days for Life and to see how much I can serve within that community.
What about you, David?
Definitely fasting from going out to eat. No more during Lent. I ain't buying no food. I'm gonna cook my food at home. Um, and then also obviously rosary daily, and then my spiritual reading, and then go to the gym every day, except for Sundays, because that's my rest day. And then definitely I want to try to do like more adoration. At my parish, we have a 24-hour adoration chapel, and I've been slacking these past couple of weeks, so I definitely need to go there more often. So definitely maybe 3 times a week, you know, definitely do that. And then, um, yeah. And then I don't know. I mean, that's what I got right now, but I'm willing to put more stuff in. So
That's a lot. I mean, you guys, that's a lot. You know, as I get older, I take on less and less. And I take on less ascetic things because as I get old, it's you know, but what I like to take on is something to hopefully improve my relationship with God. And although ascetic things do that, it's just when you're on medication, it's a little bit more tougher. So this year again, I'm going to take on reading The Imitation of Christ, but only book 3 because
mm,
only book 3. And so I'll be reading a little bit of that and posting a little bit of that so people can follow along with me um, and keep me on track of getting um, every single day something to reflect on to improve myself to imitate Christ. And also, the biggest thing is surrendering. I have a hard time surrendering. It's like when you're a control freak, it's like surrendering is like the worst. And so I'm going to surrender to whatever direction the Holy Spirit guides me to and try to imitate Christ with the readings. Uh, I'm going to try to avoid, and this is the one thing I'm going to try to avoid. I'm not going to avoid social media because that's what I do. I like what I do. People always tell me, it's like, why don't you why don't you give up social media? It's like, yeah, no.
yeah,
It's,
no.
that's my ministry. It's like, okay. It's like, I really, I have to say is I'm really, really envious, and that's a sin. I am really envious of people who will tell me it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be off all my social media during Lent. So I won't be reading any of your stuff until then. Like that puts pressure on me because either way I'm screwed because you're saying You won't be watching, but you're going to be looking for it after. So either one, I create content for the next 40 days and then have it scheduled, or I just go dark. One of these days, I'm going to go dark, and it's not going to be on again. I'm just like, oh, this is pretty good. I'm done. I've had those moments. I think I had that for 6 months this year where I didn't do anything. I was like, oh, that feels pretty good. But you know
Yeah.
what? As anything, the Holy Spirit always convicts you and says, you need to keep going. And so here we are. So on that note, last words from you guys. Anything you want to promote, anything you want to say? Go to Mass.
Go to Mass, go to confession before Ash Wednesday. Receive in the state of grace always. You don't have to receive every weekend. Just go get some prayers, get a blessing. And yeah, Jesus wants you there. He wants to see your face. And no one's judging you there. Church is a hospital of sinners, and we're all there trying to get nourished by our loving God. And I think church is the best place for you to be.
Jesus listens, and, well, I was going to do that. We listen and we don't judge.
I judge.
Matthew 7, yes, we do judge.
We should, as they say, instead of judging others, the saints, all the greatest saints, judge themselves before they judge others. So no one's really judging you; they're judging themselves.
Yeah. Or here's what someone had told me. Before doing that, before thinking badly of someone, take on their cross. And I was like, no, that's a heavy cross. I got my own. But that's a good way to look at it. To prevent you from judging is I actually always saying, I wonder what that person's going through. I wonder what that person's going through. So let me pray for that person, and for this moment, let me take that on for them. And then the words that come out of your mouth is usually, whatever. I'm just kidding. Usually it's usually what words come out of your mouth is the Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. So hopefully that will be a mantra that people will say, a prayer, not a mantra, a prayer that everyone should be saying, which actually brings us closer to heaven. So anyways, thank you guys for coming on the show and having this conversation with me. And I hope that people out there, if you guys are listening or watching this, I hope that what has transpired here in this conversation connected with you, and saying, I hope this connected. So on that note, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you want to email us any comments, concerns, anything like that, again, it's Thang's fault. But email us at catholic.dad50@gmail.com. I know I joke a lot, but I do care and love every single one of you guys who send us a comment. I pray for you. And on that note, please pray for each other. Pray for us, and live a life of holiness. Be blessed and be third. We'll see you in the Mass. God bless. Ta-da! The mission of this Connected podcast is to connect generations and situations about faith, life, and whatever comes along the way. To not necessarily agree, but be listened to. These conversations, of course, highlight the perspectives of our various guests. You are always welcome to agree or even disagree, but as always, we hope it is done in charity.